Okay, this video is Art of the Resurrection, 8B. It's from the book The Best Christian Art, written by me, Pete Rogers. So the painting here is, figure 812, Supper at Emmaus, and by Caravaggio. So Caravaggio had this magnificent style of painting, very precise anatomical detail, the shadowing. It's magnificent. Okay, so this is where the disciples first realize that it's Christ. And you can see the waiter is kind of oblivious. Okay, here is the painting Doubting Thomas, also by Caravaggio. And one of the nice things about a culture having all these stories in common is it makes it very easy for everyone to communicate with each other, to understand the literature. And you make jokes from all these stories. It just strengthens a culture to have a lot of shared stories in common. I can still, like, if I ever meet a kid from Catholic school, I automatically have a lot in common with them. That's a good thing. Okay, this painting right here is Christ giving the keys to heaven to St. Peter. And you'll often see, St. Peter painted with the keys. That's how you identify the different saints, by their characteristic thing. Okay, and that's also part of where the Catholic Church felt that it had sort of access to heaven, as, St. Peter was the first pope, if you will, the leader of the early Christian church. Him and Paul. Okay, here is a different painting. This one's by Pierugino, and I forgot to mention, who was that last one by? This last one by Nicolas Poussin, 1640. This one is by Pierugino in 1482. And I like Pierugino's better. The beautiful Florentine line. It's great. And later on, Raphael made a Marriage of the Virgin that kind of is a takeoff on this type of background and the perspective. Okay, this painting here is the Ascension of Christ into heaven. There was a grade school when I was growing up, and there was a girl that went there to Ascension. God, was she nice. Maybe should have married her. Anyways, this is Ascension into Heaven. Beautiful painting by John Singleton Copley, the American painter. Oops. Okay, let me get back to that. 1775 that was from. Okay, here's another painting of the Ascension into Heaven. This one is by Gustave Dore, 1880, public domain. And oh, by the way, there's a great song, Angel Band by Johnny Cash or Loretta Lynn. They both sing a great version of it. So it's beautiful. And so Dore was a great artist. I mean, we see a lot of his paintings in black and white, but, he was spectacular when he put all his effort into a painting. Okay, here's a very famous painting, the Ghent Altarpiece by Hubert and Jan Eyck. This painting is also called the Adoration of the Mystic Lamb. The altarpiece can fold back together and stuff. And it was sort of way beyond the other art of its time, made in 1432. When you go on the internet, you can magnify these things, make them a lot bigger. They're a little smaller in the book, of course. Here's another one of these also story paintings that are great. This one is Scenes from the Passion of Christ by Hans Memling, 1480, public domain. And again, this, the medieval point of view, it put everything together for this, for the people of the town. It does a community a lot of good to have shared things in common, shared holidays, shared stories that they all know. It unifies the people, makes them stronger, makes them happier. Okay. All right. Now here is St. John the Apostle of Christ, author of the Gospel according to John at Patmos. And he wrote the book of Revelation. And a lot of the best books are written by people when they're in exile of some form. So he was exiled to the island of Patmos. And, examples of great books written by people in exile. Thucydides had been sort of fired from his job as like an admiral general in the Athenian army during the Peloponnesian War between Athens and Sparta. And so he wrote a history of the Peloponnesian War, and it's an awesome book, one of the greatest history books of all time. And he said that at the time when he wrote the book. This is not just entertainment for the hour. This is to be lifelong insight into the truth of how men behave. Cicero translating Greek books into Latin. St. Paul writing books for the New Testament. St. Augustine writing The City of God, at the time when Rome was kind of going down the tubes, being sacked and crushed. Boethius writing Consolations of Philosophy in prison. Dante's Divine Comedy written while he was in exile. Poor Dante from Florence. And lots of other good books. You know, Voltaire wrote English Letters when he was exiled from France to England. It kind of goes on, but that's a very common theme, okay? In a sense, I'm kind of exiled from medicine in a sense because it doesn't welcome nutrition, epidemiology, toxicology. But anyways, lots of great books are written in exile. That's something to remember. So often when you hear that author who's sort of an outcast, they're the best author because they're able to see things from more than one perspective versus conventional authors like university authors are usually a joke. Okay, opening of the fifth seal from the Book of Revelations, painting by El Greco in 1650. I like the song Jesus Is All Right With Me, the Doobie Brothers. You know, a little bit of a crazy song, but for some reason it seemed to go with that. Oh, other good songs. John the Revelator. That's the best song about Revelation, really. Jubilant Sykes. He has a great voice. He really should be better known. Jubilant Sykes. If you look him up, Jubilant Sykes, John the Revelator. It's an awesome song. The Revelation song by Guy Penrod is a fantastic song. I love that song, but I almost think of it as more of a, you know, the Passion of Christ than the Revelation song. So Guy Penrod, awesome song. My Jesus, Ann Wilson, very good song. More recent song. Different kind of song. Okay, here is the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. This one was painted by a Russian, Viktor Mikhailovich Vasnetsov. Like I was saying, they had a lot of good artists in the 1800s. The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. The white horseman right here is for conquest, pestilence, and plague. The red one is possibly for civil war. This guy here on the red horse. Black, this one here is for famine. He's got the scales to weigh the rationed food. And then the pale rider here, death, which supposedly was going to take 1/4 of the population. If you pay attention to prophecy, I can tell you, if you look at the stones, the ones in Georgia, they prophesize that 93% of the population shall be gone. I don't know the exact day, maybe by, what are they saying? Some say by 2030. I don't know for sure if that's going to happen. I hope not. Okay, here's a line from the Bible, Revelations chapter 6, verses 1 through 8. When the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard one of the creatures saying with a voice like thunder, "Come and see." And I looked, and behold, a white horse. He who sat on it had a bow, and a crown was given to him. And he went out to conquer. Okay. Another horse, fiery red, went out, and it was granted to the one who sat on it to take peace from the earth. And there was given to him a great sword. You got a big sword there. And then there was a black horse, and he who sat on it had a pair of scales in his hands. And then a pale horse and a pale rider, death. Okay, so that doesn't sound so good. Hopefully that's not what we're heading into. A lot of people think we're heading into this Bible prophecy, you know, time like that. I hope not. But anyways, there's the prophecy. There's the painting. Okay, here's the wonderful painting of Thomas Cole, The Course of Empire. He made these in 1836. He's like part of the Hudson River School in America. He's a fantastic painter. And this was the consummation of empire, when people really have it great. They have their act together, and they sort of celebrate their traditions. They enjoy their time together. People are well behaved. It's beautiful. Okay, and this for me was like the 1970s, 1980s in the United States. You know, younger people don't understand how rich America used to be. Doctors made like 4 times what they make now, at least triple, and easily many of them 4 times what they make right now. It's not even, there's no comparison. In addition, states like California were so rich, a lot of the colleges, the public colleges, were free. Okay, I was around then. Okay, I saw it. Ronald Reagan was the president. Was like the governor of California. It was rich, and later on, of course, he became the president. And you know, he helped everybody become wealthy. The big money wanted America to be wealthy, and it was great. Okay, here is a painting called "The Romans in Their Decadence" by Thomas Couture. And this is sort of about the Romans. You know, they had a lot of things not going well for them. They were less moral. They had, you know, lead in the pipes of their plumbing. You know, the water would come in on the aqueducts, and then it would be sent through lead pipes. You know, lead means plum, like plumbism. So they started falling apart, and they were less interested in preserving their empire. You know, Rome had been a monarchy, and then its highlight was the republic, and then in its later phase it was the empire, and it started becoming immoral, lazy, and decadent, and it fell apart. Here's a painting by Thomas Couture again. This is a continuation of that series of paintings called The Course of Empires, and this one is called Destruction. And here you can see this is kind of like, unfortunately, our country, America, in 2024, and the population has grown atheistic, hedonistic, decadent, historically illiterate. The you-know-what down south is open, and the barbarians are flooding in, and things are being ruined. Okay? Here's a quote from Ben Stein. He says, "Love of God and compassion and empathy leads you to a glorious place. Science without God leads you to, see this word here, K-E, and then another E-L-L-I-N-G, people." And I've seen that to be the case. You have to have a Bible-based worldview. You have to love the patient and, have your heart in the right place towards other people to make science good. Because if you don't, it's very easy to destroy things. It's very difficult to create things. So you just have to have it right. Otherwise, it all goes to the money, unfortunately. Here's a quote by T.S. Eliot, the writer, sort of an American who became an Englishman. And he did a couple good things. T.S. Eliot, "If you will not have God, and he is a jealous God, then you should pay your respects to Stalin." Okay, yeah, that's exactly true. And that's what, Alexander Solzhenitsyn said. The reason all this happened, 65 million Christians were, gotten rid of by the Soviets, it was because men had forgotten God. And you look at the Old Testament, it's a perfect example. Whenever a people turn their back on God, they get crushed, okay? You need religion to hold a society together. Anybody who says that's not true is lying to you, or they're an idiot. It's pretty obvious if you study history that that is true. Okay, here's a quote from Stalin. "The Communist Party cannot be neutral towards religion. The Communist Party stands for science, and all science is opposed, and all religion is opposed to science." That's completely untrue, but that is the mentality of a Stalin. And so you have to recognize that's what you're dealing with when you're dealing with those types, and that's why they will never want things to be good for people. They can't help it. Their position is completely against things being good for people. Okay, here's Christ. He knocks at the door, okay? And this is a nice painting. It's called The Light of the World. Christ, the light of the world. Christians are the light of the world. On Christmas break, they're the ones that have all the lights on to make things positive and make the best holiday of the year during the winter season. This painting, The World, Christ Knocks, The Light of the World, Will You Answer, by Wm Holman Hunt. And he's part of that school of the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood in the mid-1800s in England. It was a magnificent time. And John Ruskin had given the speech that sort of helped open the door and helped the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood of Painters to become more famous. And this is one of my favorite paintings from the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood. It's basically the truth. If a society welcomes Christ, that will make everybody be nice to each other and everybody be better off. And if they don't, then they usually end up with the usual stupid stuff. All right, so that's it for Chapter 8. Hope that was enjoyable.